Hello and welcome, my dear friend. There are sounds in heaven that have rarely been talked about. We know the roar of angels in battle. We know the thunder of God's voice that split seas and shook mountains. But there's another sound, one that feels almost impossible to imagine. It is the sound of God laughing, not the laugh of sarcasm, not the laugh of mockery, but the laugh of a father who already knows how this story ends. The laugh of one who sees the enemy's schemes unravel before they even begin. The laugh of joy that bursts forth when you take even the smallest step in faith. And today, that laugh was released because of you. What you did may have looked ordinary in your own eyes, small, maybe even desperate. You prayed when you had no strength. You forgave when bitterness felt safer. You chose hope when your body wanted to collapse into despair. You whispered yes to God when no would have been easier. It didn't make headlines. No one clapped for you. Maybe no one even saw, but heaven did. And when heaven saw it, the throne shook with laughter. God laughed, not because it was trivial, but because he knew the impact. He knew this step, this fragile-looking human step, would collapse plans the enemy thought were airtight. He laughed because what the enemy designed to bury you has just become the soil of your blessing. Think about that. The very moment you thought was small enough to overlook, God magnified it in eternity. You've probably been your harshest critic. You replay your mistakes. You measure your growth with rulers that don't belong to you. You convince yourself that unless your progress looks spectacular, it doesn't count. But let me tell you the truth. Heaven counts differently. You see the stumble. He sees the courage to step at all. You see the small seed. He sees the forest it will one day become. You see a prayer that felt weak. He sees the faith it took to pray it. You see your obedience as insignificant. Heaven sees the ripple reaching generations you'll never meet. That's why he laughed. Because today, without even realizing it, you frustrated the plans of hell. You stood where others thought you'd fall. You spoke where silence was expected. You moved when everything told you to freeze. That obedience made God smile. Let me give you an image. Picture a toddler taking their first steps, wobbling, arms flailing, about to topple. The parent isn't angry that the child can't sprint yet. No. The parent is overwhelmed with joy because the child is moving. That fragile step is celebrated like a victory. That's how God looked at you today. Not with irritation at your imperfection, not with disappointment over what's missing, but with delight at the fact that you stepped at all. Heaven erupted, not because your step was flawless, but because it was faithful. And here's what you need to hold on to. The fact that you are still here is already a testimony. The enemy's plan for you was never soft. It was precise. It was meant to exhaust you so thoroughly that you would stop believing, stop fighting, stop trusting. It was crafted to silence your prayers, to bury your hope, to convince you that God had turned away. Yet here you are, breathing, listening, seeking him. That survival alone is victory. Every time you wake up and choose faith, even shaky faith, God laughs because the enemy lost again. Your existence today is not accidental survival. It is proof that God's hand still carries you. And if the enemy couldn't take you out yesterday, imagine the terror he feels knowing what God is about to do with you tomorrow. This is why you can't underestimate obedience in the small things. Heaven's economy is not like Earth's. The world only claps for the big milestones, the degree, the promotion, the breakthrough they can post about. But God celebrates every unseen moment. The prayer whispered in your kitchen, the forgiveness no one applauded, the quiet sacrifice that cost you more than you'll ever admit. Every one of those moments is written in eternity. Every one of them provokes heaven's delight. Every one of them shakes the plans of darkness. So hear me clearly. If you think today was wasted, if you think your effort went unseen, if you think your obedience was too small to matter, you're wrong. Because heaven already responded. God already laughed. And that laugh means the victory has already begun. If you could have seen what happened in the unseen when you made your move today, you would never doubt yourself again. Because what looked small on earth thundered in eternity. What felt like a whisper in your heart became a shout in the heavens. God laughed because the very strategy designed to end you is now unraveling at the seams. That laugh is not passive, it is power. It is heaven's way of announcing, this battle has already been decided. You have to understand something. The enemy studies patterns. He predicts you based on how you've reacted in the past. He builds traps that rely on your silence, your exhaustion, your hesitation. But today, you broke the pattern. You did something the enemy did not expect. You gave when you had nothing left. You spoke when you were supposed to stay quiet. You rose when you were supposed to sink. And that act triggered something beyond your comprehension. It's like a chess match where the opponent smirks, believing they've cornered you, only for you to make a move that flips the entire game board. That's why God laughed, because he saw what the enemy couldn't. Your obedience has already shifted the outcome. And here's the beauty of it. Heaven doesn't only respond to massive, spectacular gestures. Heaven responds to faith. Heaven responds to purity. Heaven responds to truth. One whispered yes carries more weight than 1,000 loud declarations with no heart. One act of integrity in the shadows carries more authority than 100 public performances done for recognition. This is why you have to stop minimizing yourself. You have to stop treating your obedience as though it only matters when people notice. You have to stop comparing your journey to the highlight reels of others. Heaven isn't looking at the noise. Heaven is looking at the depth. And today, you proved there is depth in you. Maybe you've felt unseen. Maybe you've wrestled with the idea that you're just surviving, not really advancing. But survival is not small. Survival is testimony. Every breath you take says, I am still here. Every step you take whispers, the plan against me has failed. And every time you wake up and choose to continue, heaven leans forward, watching, rejoicing, declaring, they're still standing. You underestimate your own resilience because you've lived inside it for so long. But let me remind you, what tried to destroy you didn't succeed. That alone makes your story a living victory. And now, it's not just about survival anymore. It's about acceleration. Because when God laughs, it's not just joy, it's signal. It means momentum has shifted. It means the season has turned. It means the very ground beneath you is preparing to yield what you've been waiting for. That's why you may feel the tension rising. That's why your spirit senses something bigger is circling. Because the laugh of heaven is not quiet. It stirs the air. It disrupts timelines. It pulls breakthroughs into the present. And it started with you. Think of it this way. Every small step you've taken has been like dropping a stone into water. At first, it seems like only a small splash. But then the ripples spread outward, farther and wider than you thought possible. Today's act, the one you thought no one would notice, sent ripples through eternity. Angels moved, chains loosened, doors began to respond. Seeds that looked buried forever began to stir. And while you can't see all of it yet, you will, because heaven does not laugh at something without cause. That sound carries weight. It carries promise. This is the part I need you to hold close. If God is laughing, it means you can stop doubting. Stop doubting the timing. Stop doubting your strength. Stop doubting whether you're enough. Because if heaven has already celebrated your step, then the victory is no longer a question of if. It's only a matter of when. You might have been taught to only celebrate at the finish line, but heaven celebrates at the first step. The journey is sacred. The progress itself is holy. And when you realize that, you stop carrying the weight of not there yet and start walking with the confidence of already chosen. That shift changes everything. You stop living for the unstable approval of people and start moving in the unshakable approval of God. And when you carry that, nothing can intimidate you anymore. So let me leave you with this. God saw you today. He saw the hidden effort, the quiet yes, the trembling obedience. He saw it, and he laughed with joy. That laugh means your story is not stuck. That laugh means your obedience has more power than you realize. That laugh means the outcome has already been rewritten in your favor. Carry that picture in your spirit, the Creator of all things, leaning back on his throne, smiling and laughing over your life. Let that sound become your confidence. Let it drown out every lie, every doubt, every whisper that tells you you're behind. Because if the King is laughing, it means the ending has already been secured. And dear chosen one, it ends with your victory. When a word like this lands, your spirit wants to stay in the presence of it. That's why I made Simplified Serenity, a channel with music I've created for prayer, meditation, and deep rest. The link is in the description. I'd love to see you there.